Hawaiian style t-shirts and dresses, handbags with matching scarves. We also carry tie-dye dresses, shirts and tops. Everything in our store are made right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So come on over and check us out. We are located at the cruise ship berth in Kingstown, Island Style.
Join your host, Ross Bishai, for Stepping into the Light at Bihill Online Radio and Kankari Radio. Ross Bishai steps into the light of food and agriculture, culture and liberty. Stepping into the light lifts the level of your self-consciousness, activates your collective security genetic code, raises your earthly vibrations. To win in this Armageddon, you must listen to Stepping into the Light with host Ross Bishai.
Greetings, welcome to the 13th program of Stepping into the Light with your host Ross Bishai at Bihill Radio, Kankari Radio, Tuesday, 12th November 2024. This is the 151st program since we started on the 4th of January 2021. Yes, that was a theme song, Exodus by Bob Marley, because we are moving, the movement of your people, we are moving out of the darkness and we are stepping into the light. You're smart to tap to all listening and following this program. It's good to be here with you again for another program, so link up all others who you're supposed to link up. I want to say welcome to all the new listeners we have tonight. Welcome to this program and welcome to those who have been listening for some time now and those who've been listening from the start. You are the people who make this program what it is. As usual, and I start off by giving some praises to the Almighty Creators and honoring our ancestors. As is I. Glory to the Word, glory to the Son, and glory to the power of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. Almighty Creator of this universe, and I give thanks for your love, your care, and your guidance throughout the time, and for bringing Anna here for another program. Keep shining thy light into Anna paths, as I go stepping into the light and unto Mount Zion. As it is. Blessed be His Imperial Majesty, Haile Selassie, and Her Imperial Majesty Empress Menen, one perfect balance. Blessed be the spirits of our ancestors, the Neteru, which walk alongside our always, keeping our feet from slipping and falling, and our hands from pilfering and stealing, and our mouths from slander and idle speaking. And I call on the Goddess Smart and the 42 divine ones from creation to keep our people firmly on the 7 basic principles of truth, order, balance, harmony, law, morality, and justice. Give our life over death, light over darkness, mind over matter, and good over evil every time. Ashe. Ashe. Yes, people, we have to give thanks also to the owners and operators of Bihill Radio and also of Kankari Radio and to the sponsors for carrying this program. Yes, making sure that this message gets out to those who want to hear. I hope our connection holds tonight, because sometimes the Wi-Fi cuts in and out. Until I could find a way where I could do it direct from the studio, or we could up the technical capabilities of the station to override these Wi-Fi drop rules and so on. We'll just have to go with what is there. Okay? Yes, and a special welcome and greetings to all those who have been following this program, and even those who just started following and listening to this program. You are the ones who make the program a reality. So what are the happenings? What are we reasoning about tonight? Yes, As you know, this program is much different than other programs. We deal with things which are very, very important, not just regional, local and regionally, but internationally. So we're going to deal with several things tonight. We're going to reason about the donations of the vegetable packages of vegetable seeds and other things that were donated by our indigenous people group in New York to assist some indigenous farmers in this country, especially people who have suffered from burial and from the dry season we had earlier this year. We're going to talk a bit about that in a second. We're going to get the biodynamic gardening, planting by the moon phase guide for the period Wednesday the 13th, November, that's tomorrow, to next Tuesday the 19th. We're going to have a review of the Medical Cannabis Authority Cannabis Festival from the 1st to the 3rd November. We're going to look at the positives, the negatives, and the way forward. And we are, of course, going to reason about the re-election of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States, its global and regional significance. Okay? And yes, that is what we're going to cover tonight. We have a couple of songs lined up for you also that you will hear at the right time in the program. So I want to start off by speaking to what I call my new family, the people who have received the donations of a package of vegetable seeds, potting soil, mix, seedling trays, organic liquid fertilizer, etc. There were 21 recipients. That was completed on Monday, yesterday the 11th, the receipt of these things. Okay? And people were chosen and selected from east, north, west, south, central of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As far south as you could go, where we grow food, even in Ireland. As far north as you could go, fancy. As far south as you could go, south leeward. And as far east as you could go in the Calder, Belmont area, and as far west as you could go in the Barley, Curtains area, and in between. And these recipients will also share what they have at some level with other people, some other people in the communities to start a spread as far as it's possible. So what we have started there really is the creation, the birth and expansion of a new community agricultural family, which using media like this radio station, these radio stations, we will keep in touch. And also, you have my number, so you can inbox me, not now during the program, because that will disturb the connection. But any other time, after the program and the rest of the week until the program starts again, and say what you have to say, questions, comments, whatever, and we'll keep that link. And sometime in the future, we will try to meet both online and face-to-face somewhere where we could strengthen these bonds, because we have work to do. We have a lot of work to do. People like us who are in this sector, especially in this time. We have work to do, and we're going to do the work. I just want to give you a short quotation from a book called Selected Speeches of His Imperial Majesty. He says, it is not sufficient for the people, any people, to rely on government support alone. Let me repeat that statement. it is not sufficient for the people to rely on government support alone. He was addressing his country at the time. But he speaks generally to people all over. The people themselves must come to realize that their own difficulties in the development of their community, they must come to realize their own difficulties in the development of their community and try to solve them by collective participation, following an order of priority and taking their potentiality into account. Read that once more. It is not sufficient for the people to rely on government support alone. The people themselves must come to realize their own difficulties in the development of their community and try to solve them by collective participation, following an order of priority and taking their potentiality into account. Okay? So just keep that in mind. So in your communities, wherever you are, and I'm happy to be able to assist you in that way. And again, thanks to our indigenous people grouping in New York. We have to apply the principle of collective security. So collective participation. You don't know ism and schism and whatever hold you back and hold you down and try to say, well, me not talk to. No, we are on a new earth now. We have to move away from these things. And we know the problems. Okay? And we're going to address some of these problems because I am getting some positive feed from one of the recipients right next door to her, and I hope to visit that person sometime in the coming week, if not later in this week. It's a problem that exists all over St. Vincent for a good time now. Surely, at least for the last 20 years. Could be more than that. The problem of getting reliable people to work, labor in the agricultural sector. People just don't, their minds have been turned off by the system to sit down and wait for a handout. Never mind how small that handout is. So they've been hooked on that. And when you're getting them to do work, ask them to do work, they're not ready. That is one major part. The other part is that a lot of people are not physically fit to do that kind of work either. Because of the pressures coming from outside by this imported crap that we eat, that most people eat called food. Right? So these are some of the things that we have to look at. And we have to find ways to address them. We have to find ways, and we will find ways to address them. We just started. We're going to get into things like the right type of tools, technology, so that everybody could use them, male or female, without stressing yourself. We also get into things like training a workforce, which we can send to different farmers to assist in doing things. All of these things that we already starting to put energies to. Because as it says earlier, we cannot rely on the government or any government. Okay, this is our thing. We're running with it. And when we get that going in most of the communities, it will be a national thing. And you have the formation of a different type of government. Government starting off the people, by the people, in the communities. When you make that link, nothing stronger than that. Okay? So, I want to say, best wishes to all who made this thing happen. The donors, those who helped select the people who became the recipients, and those people who are going to benefit in the community from the recipients. Okay? And so we start a new relationship with Nature I, which is the entity that your humble servant created, and also a new relationship with this program, Stepping into the Light. And we're going to make sure that that relationship blossoms and grows and bears fruit. Okay? Now, in terms of what I'll do right now, I'll go straight into the biodynamic gardening, planting by the moon phase guide for the period, because I know that right now we are into what is historically known as the wettest period in the year in this country. Wettest period in the year. The wettest month in the year on record for some time now has been November. Challenged seriously by October. Well, October was not that wet this year. It had what I call perfect farmer's weather. Showers mainly in the night, evening night, or early morning. Not too heavy and very frequent. And that is what farmers ideally need. As some countries like Jamaica say, when the rain comes in night, the rain has sense. So it wait until the night to come and then in the day now people could go and do what they have to do. This month is a different month mystically, as you could see. We had a double rainbow in Camden Park a few days ago. Double rainbow. Beautiful. And from Friday night, we had those lovely songs, lovely flashes of lightning, songs of thunder. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and now we're having some fairly heavy rain still. We had flooding in several areas. I hope that those who had ears to hear listen to the voices of the ancestors in the thunder. Because this is a new time, a new era. We're going to get into that part a little later in the program. Yeah, the biodynamic planting by the moon phase guide for the period. So, now that you have, I'm speaking specifically to our people who receive these seeds. Now that you have the seeds, what are you going to do with them? I know some people who have planted already because you got them on a time when it was ready to plant. So I didn't expect you to hold them up. So right now, I just want to give you some advice on where we go from here. Okay? Now, what moon phase are we in? We are into the moon phase called the waxing gibbous. Waxing gibbous. That means we are coming up closer and closer to the full moon. Waxing gibbous starts after the first quarter. So tomorrow we're going to be in the waxing gibbous, and we're going to be in the waxing gibbous again on Thursday. On Friday, the 15th, is the full moon. So what happens in this phase? What happened in this phase, the waxing gibbous, from several days ago to tomorrow, to Thursday rather? It's a time when you plant the above ground short crops. Above ground short crops, best. Especially fruit plants, also corn and flowers. One of the recipients asked if you could plant cucumber. You can still plant cucumber. It's not, the week before was better, but you can still plant it right now, okay? But the best in this phase are plants that bear fruits, like your tomatoes, your peppers, your melons, that kind of thing. You can also plant corn, and you can plant definitely flowers. It's a good time to mow lawns and prune and graft and prune. So that moon phase lasts right up until Thursday, the end of Thursday. And on Friday, the moon is full moon. And you will see that from about a little after 7, almost 7:30 in the night. You'll see full moon. The moon will be out and full, okay? It's time to rest from whatever work you're doing. It comes like a Sabbath. That is what these things meant in the early times. Full moon. You take a rest, you celebrate, give thanks for being alive and having strength, and you meditate. Yes, very, very, very important. Very important. These things are very important. But it's also good to pick medicinal herbs and plants. Very good to pick medicinal herbs and plants. Remember when I was small, the old people send you to, they would go and, if you don't know, and pick things like buddy me and catmint and these things and so on. And, you know, some people would even pull the corella and go for a sap between the fresh and the salt. All these things they did. This generation, they don't really worry about these things. They have more distractions to look at. So from the 16th, from Saturday now, a little feedback there. It's the waning gibbous. The same phase, the same wrongness of the moon, but this time it's waning because the moon is already full, can't get any fuller, so it starts getting a little smaller, start to wane, but it's in the gibbous form. So waning gibbous, and it will take place for the rest of that period. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? Those days. And a little more, but we're carrying this one up to Tuesday. Advice, up to Tuesday. And it's a great time to plant your below ground crops. Because at that time, the gravity of the moon changes now. The earth now is now inhaling instead of exhaling, it's pulling in. So it plant, especially root plants. So all your root crops you have to plant, this is the time to get them in the ground. Best time. Best time. And you can also plant trees. You have any fruit trees to transplant? Of course, this is the time. Okay? You could plant trees, you could plant herbs, and especially those trees that will grow for a long time. You have some young coconut plants you want to put in? These are the times to put them in, this time. Okay? But it's also a great time to harvest all crops. All crops. Excellent time to harvest. And to fertilize your plants. When I say fertilize, I'm talking about organically. Right? It's also a good time to transplant your seedlings. Whatever seedlings you had, if you had set up some of those, whatever I'm talking about, lettuce also, earlier in the month, and they just started coming to the side, yes, put them out. It's not the best time to set lettuce seed, but it's good to transplant. Good to transplant any seedling you have. And you could mow lawns and prune. Okay? So that is the guide for the period Wednesday, the 13th, which is tomorrow, to next Tuesday, the 19th. When we come on next Tuesday, the 19th, you're willing? You will get the guide going forward from that time. Now I have to say something here, and I have a feeling that my good brother from Morocco is listening. Yes. Now, despite all the rains that have been coming here, I'm saying something practical and I'm asking an open question. Despite all the rain that have been coming in the last 4 or 5 days, we the people see where the flooding has taken place. Not much in St. Vincent and Grenadines because we are a volcanic island and we are a mountainous island. So our terrain and our topography is different, much different from a lot of countries. Water will run off easily. But most importantly, our soil structure and texture does not allow in most places for any sort of flooding. Flooding has to take place in a built-up area, concrete area, where things get blocked up and so on. And we saw that happening in several areas, like in Calico and so on. Grenada and these other countries are more susceptible to that than us. So when you look at areas closer and closest to the volcano, those soils, both north and south of the east and west rather of the country, are called recent volcanic ash. And those soils are the most porous soils in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And by extension, probably in the entire Caribbean. Because we have a unique soil structure here. We don't have hard clays and these kind of things and so on. And we even have areas like the Rabaca area itself where depends on the pressure and the gravity. Sometimes the river runs, sometimes it doesn't run because what? The water flows underneath, and when the pressure is different, it comes to the surface. Okay? So you would notice that there has been no ponding of water anywhere in that north of the country, neither east nor west. So when some people claim that certain areas in this country, people who are doing work, excavation work and quarry to cause ponding, you see how laughable that is. You see how totally incorrect that is. And you see how non-scientific that is. That's all I want to say on this matter right now. Okay? Because we have a lot of things to cover for the night. We have a lot of things to cover for the night. Especially now at the community level. And this should not be a request that has to be torn down by any government. They should be sending the extension people. Some of you are recommended by extension people in the first place. To verify and just make sure that they deliver that material to you properly. And in some cases, you should also assist, because this is what development and assistance is about. Assist the farmer by getting connected in another government organization, like, for example, CWSA or the Public Works, who have the technical people who could get water for it ready. And also, somewhere in all these fundings, free money that they get some hose, even at least a 50-foot or 100-foot hose onto each one, so that you could get that water from the tank when you need it. This is what we're supposed to do. We are on the program. They have to consider you as part of the program here. To assist with the cutting of our food import bill by 25% by 2025. They have to do that because you already have certain inputs ready, and you have the will, you have the knowledge. You're going to get the assistance where you can in whatever area you need. So who do not have the right guttering on the house? All these things are provided to people. These are not. And these are one-off things. These are not things that are outside of the ambit of helping people to get out of the poverty trap. This is what this time is about. You know, lots of money are wasted in these countries doing foolishness. A lot of it in the name of politics. We need some to go now, stop wasting and put it into the name of development. Give it to the people, especially the people who need it. So you could collect when you hear inside and you hear and your house stop, blah, 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 blah. You know that your tank or your tanks are getting filled. You have water to wet your sweet pepper, your tomato, your lettuce, and whatever you have there, if no rain comes the next day. That is how it's supposed to be. Okay? You are the first guardians of the food security in this country. So I'm going to work tirelessly and to ensure that each one of you, get some measure of water storage. And we're going to keep in contact. We're going to keep in contact. There's no time to ease up. No time at all to ease up. We're not easing up on anyone in this time. Yes, we're going to deal now with, we have a lot of things to say tonight, a lot of things to say tonight in this time. We're going to deal now with start to deal with the review of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority Cannabis Festival, which was held at the Arnorsville Sporting Complex. Some people say the Arnorsville Stadium. It's not really a stadium yet. It's not a stadium because a stadium has several sporting facilities in the same location. Right now, the way Arnorsville is inside is only, well, let us say 3 games could be played here. Tennis, that is on the outside of the cricket field, the tennis courts are. You can play cricket and you can play football, okay? And probably you could play some volleyball. But that's not a stadium because no athletics could take place there. It doesn't have a track and that sort of thing. It's a sporting complex. Okay. So, we're not going into too much details right now, but I'm saying just for this part of the program. We'll speak about that a little later in the program. What are the positives as from Iman's perspective and what are some of the negatives? Okay? And when we come forward, we're going to talk about the way forward. Now, the positives as I see them was one, that it was good to come to the public and let the public see what really comprises the medicinal cannabis industry in this country. What they call the medicinal cannabis industry. Okay? Who are the main players? What their work consists of? How they produce these things? Right? So it leaves no guessing in the part of the public, the concerned public that is, of what is going on. It also was good to have the participation of the regional people who have the same sort of legislation in their country. Delegation from the regional people. We had people from the rest of the Grenada Islands, Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Dominica. We had people from the Leeward Islands. We had people from Jamaica. We had people from Trinidad and Tobago. We had people from Barbados. Okay? And to share opinions and experiences with them, find out what on a one-to-one basis, on a face-to-face basis, what are the problems in their country, if they're similar to us, how are they tackling them, how are the organization and so on. That was a positive that came out as far as I was concerned, because I made the best use of that. The other positive I saw was to hear international recognized people, even our own Caribbean academics and professionals of all walks of life who have some authority in the area of cannabis speak about the cannabis market internationally, its production and so on, its demand and possibility of products, medical products that they are working on now internationally to extract from this plant. Okay? At least you didn't know. Cannabis as a crop is in the industry globally, is the fastest growing industry today. Globally. Globally. We're going to get into some of the details in the second portion of the program. as far as some of the negatives are concerned, and when we come to these things, we don't speak in any partisan way, and I don't speak on that. We call a spade, right down. We write down, right through, okay? Now, I have to mention this one first, because it's been requested of I to do so by I brethren and sistren and family and other people in the community. Having formally invited a big portion of the Rastafari community to attend, not just in presenting exhibits or attending the speeches and the symposiums and the workshops and so on, the lectures and so on, but to attend the people who actually organized and brought off the first very successful, well-organized ITAL festival in St. Vincent and Grenadines, which everybody is still screaming about. Some people say they want it 4 times a year. That is where the popularity and the love for it has gone publicly. After inviting them to be there, and they came and they lit up the place. They actually lit up the place for the first 2 days in particular. And we have serving the different things and exhibiting those who involved in the cannabis industry, exhibiting their products which have been conceived and produced long before we had any medicinal cannabis authority. Okay? Very good products, which now population patronized by buying for their own use. Many people found it very insulting, disrespectful, and thoughtless to bring one of our entrepreneurs, and this is not putting down the entrepreneur at all, no way, but everything has its place. That is why order is the second basic principle of our ancestors. After truth is order. And this has not been followed by the people who organize the Cannabis Festival. If it was considered, then you have directly insulted the Rastafari community, at least in this country. And an apology is due. No 2 ways about that. You cannot bring an entrepreneur and a business person, a business entity which sells pork and put it right at the head, the area where the wind blows from, not where the area where the wind blows to. And all these are logistical things that you have to take into consideration when you're planning anything. On the Sunday night, which was the night for the show, when you know that there are several Rastafari stalls selling food in that area, and the entire, I can't say the entire, because although that is possible, the people are here complaining, the people inside there, the great majority of them, not the Rastafari alone, the people the patch patrons complain about it, and complain about the smell. You can't do that. This thing runs much deeper than that. This is a very sensitive thing. Right? So, going forward, these kind of things have to be addressed long before you start anything. You can't make these blunders. It even allows some people to speculate that the invitation given to the ITAL Fest committee and its participants to participate was like an afterthought. Realizing that that committee and that grouping has the power to pull people, which it did. So you have to be more respectful to that than that to this country's Rastafari community and to Rastafari in general, because the visiting Rastafari from other countries who are here and went there, they were very disappointed also. And you cannot make I try to make I look small in the presence of I brethren and sistren visiting from outside. So that has to be addressed at a high formal level. No two ways about that. Okay. Having said that, we now having assessed the situation and know exactly what is happening and what is not happening, what space is there for I and what space is not here for good planning. We have to go forward. We now in a much better position to go forward and go forward positively following that cannabis bliss press. Okay? So what I want to say right now here in this thing right now is that I'm going to call for one of the songs I requested tonight. It is Rastaman Vibration, because that is the only vibration right now that is resounding positively on the entire earth right now. So I'm going to call for that song, and then we're going to have a word from our sponsors, and when we come forward, blazing, vibration. And some people have said that sometimes the music is not as loud or together as they would hear, so I tell them, well, that's not a problem because we have the leading radio technician around, so once we allow them to know that, they will make sure that, you get the best sound out. So over to you, my brother. Rastaman Vibration.
This is Kankadi Radio, Canada Caribbean Development Initiative Radio. We cross borders. We network in search of opportunities for all peoples.
Boost your brand's visibility with Branding by Weeks. At Branding by Weeks, we are passionate about helping brands gain exposure and make a significant impact. Let us elevate your brand's visibility and reach new heights. Connect with us today by email at spweeks@hotmail.com or message us on WhatsApp 613-866-8939.
It's the Vin Abbott Show with news, views, and interviews. The music in the mix on Saturdays, 4 p.m. Kankadi Radio.
Island Size Souvenir and Clothing Store. We carry everything you need in souvenirs. T-shirts in all different sizes, cap, keychains, key rings, plaques and banners, magnets, ID holders, mugs, and we even carry St. Vincent flag. And that's not all. We carry Hawaiian style t-shirts and dresses, handbags with matching scarves. We also carry tie-dye dresses, shirts and tops. Everything in our store are made right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So come on over and check us out. We are located at the cruise ship berth in Kingston, Island Style.
Join your host, Ross Bishai, for Stepping into the Light at Bihil Online Radio and Kankadi Radio. Ross Bishai steps into the light of food and agriculture, culture and liberty. Stepping into the light lifts the level of your self-consciousness, activates your collective security genetic code, raises your earthly vibrations. To win in this Armageddon, you must listen to Stepping into the Light with host Ross Bishai.
Yes, people, yes, we are here again, and we have lots of things to do in this country as a people. As we said when we started, we're going to follow the advice of His Imperial Majesty. We're not going to wait on any government when we can do certain things for ourselves. We have to create our government in that way. Start in our community. That is why we have to forget all this little foolish things that we fight against as a people, one another. Okay? Whether it is political or religious, we have to forget those things and put our togetherness first, collective security, for surety. Now what is the way forward for the cannabis industry in this country? Having seen the cannabis Bliss Festival, first one. First of all, I want to say that one of the downsides to the whole thing, as far as I am concerned, remember I tell you calling a spade, how I see it, is that too few people of the Rastafari brethren and sisters who involved to some level in the production and the value adding of cannabis products were absent, or their representation was absent. Everybody doesn't have to come, but some representation from your business collective should be there to explain what happened, what transpired. Because if you do not know how something operates, you cannot address it properly. Knowledge is power. Remember that, people. Remember that. And never mind what people say. People will say all kind of things to prevent you from going there for your own good. To learn knowledge. Knowledge is power. You have to find knowledge anyway, seek it. Okay? Like that, you're not bowing down to anybody by going there. No. These sessions were open to the public. So I don't know that if it was not properly advertised, maybe that was one of the weaknesses too, by the cannabis, that people should come and listen to the lectures. It didn't cost you a cent more than a transportation and good behavior. Okay? So going forward, we have to see more of that taking place, so we could make some informed decisions and informed reasoning collectively when we sit down to reason. That's one part of it. Now, from what I saw coming out there, we need to have a series of workshops and symposium with our Rastafari community, particularly those who are involved in the cannabis. Whether as a producer of the plant itself, the part of the plant, or a value adder making products from the part itself. We have to have a serious series. It can't be done in any one shot of workshops and symposiums. And the reasons for having these things is so that everybody will have a clear view of what is possible, so we could formulate the way to achieve what we're supposed to achieve. We are hoping, having submitted the request for the first one to the government, who is supposed to govern everyone, meaning that you're supposed to be the chief in these countries, all these countries. Whoever is elected here is supposed to be the chief servant of the people, not the ruler, the chief servant of the people. But the people don't know that. People think that they're supposed to be a ruler, not so. That is why we have to have this community education to enlighten our people. We can't let the next generation and the Y generation right now, the young ones, come up the same way like the present older ones who just assume things and don't check them out. Okay? So they are supposed to, they and the people who work around them, they call it public service. Serve the public. That is what they're supposed to do. Right? So we expect to have those funds available to us for the first one, and then we'll go from there. With the purposes, these three purposes: to prepare and train traditional farmers in one, claiming and owning market share. Because right now, the brethren and the sister, they have no market share to talk about. The market share, the cannabis market in this country, up until the last 8-10 years, belonged in most part to the local people. The creators of the brand called Vinci Ganja was created by ordinary people who you could now call, some of you call traditional farmers, taking that extra step against the odds to do what they had to do and develop a new type of entrepreneurship which kept this country out of poverty for decades. Okay? And we have seen that with a new international twist into what they call in medicinal cannabis. They have clouded that market share. And what I see revealing, what I looked at and what I analyzed by going there is that they haven't taken the market share, but we don't know that. Most people don't know. What they have done is twist the minds of the customers to their product. But our INA market share is right there, just that we don't know. Most people don't know. So we need some symposiums and some workshops to explain exactly what is there. Globally, the market is segmented into different areas, and I have a spot there. Locally, the same thing. So except the brethren and the sister don't know that, it just calls for a different level of organization. And if you sit down and do nothing in an international market, which is the fastest growing commodity market in the world right now, they have no other commodity going as fast as this, which they estimate by 2031, that's 6 years from now. So if you have a child now who is 15, 14 and in school, 6 years from now, the 2021, they could be in university or something, and part of what they might find interesting to study is part of this market, because the market will be worth over $444 billion US dollars globally. And the biggest part of that is in terms of the flowers, the buds. Yeah, so the market is segmented to people who like different products for different reasons. So I share still there. I'm not going to say too many details on it tonight. So it's just that our brethren and sisters are not conscious of that, so we have to make them conscious. You just let the market for food, certain types of food, vegetables, fruits and these things right here. But we importing $300 million worth of these same foods every year. And our farmers, everybody watching on another, they want to make the move to get together in groupings. And then the groupings get together and build a starliner to produce the food for the market that is right here. They prefer to see the money go outside. No, those days are finished. And we're going to get into that a little later. These days are finished just a couple days ago. So now is the time. Now is the time. That is why I play that tune, Rastaman Vibration. It's a new time, new day, new feeling. So you got to live if you want to live. If you choose to die, well, as your choice. But if you really want to live, you can live. That's it. Okay? So going forward now, the second purpose of the workshop is to establishing and gaining ownership and control of the marketing and production system. Establishing and gaining ownership and control of the marketing production system. And by just being in that conference, I gave a lot of information about how this can be done and supposed to be done, which I am going to give to the people in the workshop when we have them, workshops, so that they could go forward in their communities and spread it out among the other people. Yes. How you gain ownership and control of the marketing and production system, because that is one of the things that has been taken away from our traditional farmers. That is why they make any money for the last 6, 7, 8 years. Nothing to talk about. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's why the rural economies have collapsed. Because the rural economies in this country, whether you like it or not, was controlled, was kept up by agriculture, of which cannabis production was a great part. Of course, bananas played a major part, but so did other commodities too. Because not everybody had bananas. We had root crops, we had fruits, and we had cannabis. Okay? These were the major things from the earth, from the blessed earth that we have, and we still have, and we will have for a long time. Go out the rot. The rotten, as my father used to say. We just have to make sure that we have the will and the way to make it produce, make the good earth produce, and we're good to go. And the third purpose for the workshops is creating a sovereign, yes, Tonic, a sovereign and sustainable cannabis industry. That means it's owned by I&I. Sovereign and sustainable. Mean that we always did it. Cannabis industry. So those are the three purposes of the workshop, the first, the second. We're going up, right? Because the space is there. Our market space is still there, just that people haven't recognized it. I noticed that for the few people, local people, many people had exhibits there, including the people who are officially in the medical cannabis industry as registered with the Cannabis Authority. Don't get me wrong, they had their products there and they got sale for some of their products. But so also did our local people got sale for their products, which shows that the market is big enough for all these players and even more. So our segment of the market is there. It left for I&I now to organize and centralize and take and optimize and maximize our market space and potential. Because there are certain things you have to do. Your farms have to come up to a certain level of health, agricultural health, environmental health, so that it could be certified as having this standard. So any product, whether food or herb or whatever coming from it, is accepted in the local, regional and international market as a good product. And that's simple. Those are some of the things. Okay? And we're going to look at these things and look at the requirements needed by each farm and farmer, each grouping of farmers to reach to that level. And then we're going to make sure we get to that level. That is how we move on from there. Right? The other thing is that one of the few things coming out of it is that we have our own Rastafari Caribbean people at the highest level working in it. The highest level of creating a new, regional, well-adapted strain of marijuana to replace what we used to call our local marijuana in these parts, where our genetic material was stolen by these fake, what they call raids, with a helicopter. They used to call it the war on drugs. But we now know what they meant by that. Because these globalists, as you would see when we come to talking about what has happened since the 5th, when Trump won the election in America, is that the capitalists and the globalists, the globalists in particular, have been defeated and their agenda has been broken. And part of their agenda was having total control of food, the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry in the entire world. So they could decide who will be sick and who will be hungry when they want. It ain't happening again. So right now, we have our people in the region who are building varieties of food crops suitable for the region to replace those indigenous ones that have been destroyed, and variety of ganja suitable for the region, climatically and otherwise, to replace our indigenous material which has been destroyed. So we just have to tie into that and work with it and strengthen that, and that's strengthen I&I. So that's where we're moving from. That's where we're moving to. Okay? That is where we are moving to. And to tell you why and how we are moving to that, I want to tell you that the stone that the builder refused, has now become, yes, the stone that the builder refused will always be the head cornerstone. And what is that stone that the builder refused? In St. Vincent and the Grenadines and globally? Because we were instructed, our governments, who a lot of people think are the final authority, which is totally false. Way from that, they take orders from the darkness outside. All of them. They have been instructed to downplay agriculture, refuse that stone. And now what is happening today in the same country? Look at the scramble. Look at the scramble in the last few weeks, particularly in the last month, to make agriculture again a pillar of the economy, if not the base pillar. Look at the stone, the same stone that they refuse. We hear how can you talk about it being a thing of the past and so on, but now it's the thing of the present. Because the only festivals that made any sense for the whole year, the ITEL Fest, number one, where's food you're dealing with, ITEL, and craft, and a lot of the craft come from the earth, from things that go from the earth, and the Cannabis Fest, which again is a product of the earth. You know? So, now that it is gaining prominence, regain its prominent status right through, we expect a lot of things to happen. First of all, the annual budget, national budget for agriculture has to increase significantly. Can't be the 3 and 4 and 5% of the budget. No way. No way. Anytime you set a week's shaky foundation, it's going down the road. It has to be a minimum of 10%. Minimum. Very base minimum. And then all the things will be built on that. Secondly, you have to have a total reform of the entire agricultural sector. Systems, the service systems, total. You see this, let me give you an example. You see this thing that they call an agricultural extension? That has to reform in such a way that it has to provide the services that the farmers need. Not want, need. You see, like the sister who in Boxman asks about, she said that and which is true, she cannot get certain things done because she had no help, she can't get any help, neither paid help nor free help to clear the land and to prepare the land and so on. These are the things that the extension service have to be involved in going forward. You must be able to analyze your farmers in your district and say, well, this farmer is such and such, and this is the help they need. And you must have the resources within the structure of the ministry to get that thing done. Not just in talk. Get 3 or 4 workers to spend 3 or 4 days or even take more than that at a particular farm to get them up to a certain level. Otherwise, there is no way that we're going to achieve those goals of reducing our food import bill. It will just be fantasy. And we can't deal with fantasy in these times. You have to deal with the reality, practicality. So we have to restructure going forward. These things have to be restructured properly. And for the extension of agent department to do that, they have to be funded properly. And they have to be resourced properly in terms of having the suitable, the people, the financial power to do it, and the technology and the tools to do it, to implement them. Have to do that. No other way. No other way we're going to make it. No other way we're going to make it. So we have to start building that green army. Yes, we have to start building that green services, that green force with the army, navy, special unit, whatever it is. Got to go out there and do that. Because agriculture is now the chief cornerstone anywhere you go in the world. Anywhere you go. Anywhere you go. Agriculture is the chief cornerstone. So that is one of the areas going forward. The reform of the entire sector, but particularly of those sectors. The involvement, the training of people, allocation of funds for communities and people who are willing to work together. You see that workshop that they had, that symposium they had the last time there about the cooperatives? They were only cooperatives on paper. Say I tell you so. They are only cooperatives on paper. Not one of them is functioning in any way to add any serious economic advancement to this country right now. The fault, a lot of the fault lies with the cooperative itself, but a good, better portion of the fault lies with the system. Because the real moral of the system is not really to get them to work and that, that's changing now. That just start changing in a few days. It was just to have them on paper. But now, because of the reality of the times, they now have to make sure that it's much more than paper. They have to operate in the real world. There have been several things happening, a few things which I want to bring your attention to if you haven't known before, but even to give you a little wider perspective, that happened since the Cannabis Festival. The first one, well, even before going to that, I want to come forward to my brethren again. Brethren, and I get in this is a message to you from a lot of the visiting delegations who came here from the region. The brethren and sisters in charge of the bingy functioning, well, the bingy should have had that bingy, that celebration on the 2nd, right on the site at Annesville. There's no sense going quite up yonder in the bush with the road and go to a those thing in the bingy house. We're not supposed to be hiding in anything now to have our ISIS. This is the advanced time. Okay? So take that into account. Take that seriously into account. That was one of the weaknesses of the thing too. We could have engendered a quite different vibration and stop a lot of negatives that are going on if I had got a ISIS on the Saturday night at Annesville in the facility there. I'm telling you that. Okay? So make sure that that doesn't happen again. So since that now, what has happened? Several things have happened in the agricultural sector. One is that on the same morning, the Monday morning, after the festival, the ministers of tourism, who is the representative for North Leeward, and the Minister of Agriculture, went formally to North Leeward and gave documents, letters to farmers to occupy lands at an area called area over the Richmond River there, right? In lands of Top Hill, in acres of 2 to 4, slots of 2 to 4 and more acres, and told them specifically, the representative of the area said these lands are to plant marijuana, meaning medical marijuana, and food, but marijuana came first. Now just to show you several things, okay, what they now consider as being important in terms of going forward. Agriculture, marijuana and food. And that these farmers will be supported, that is what they said, by an office of the Medicinal Cannabis Authority, which will be right there in the area, a facility As a matter of fact, they have an office there right now, almost in the police station. You see how times have changed? You have a cannabis authority office and the police station within a whisper of each other. Within a whisper, and you tell her that Rastaman vibration not positive. Now, the Cannabis Medical Authority is going to set up a station at Top Hill for production and research. So the farmers will be right there, within a small walking distance of them. And they said the agricultural support company will also be there for whatever purposes. Now, that would sound good and flowery on paper. But in practice, given the track record of this system, we see that very little will come out of that positively in practice, except these two institutions that they're speaking about carry out some serious reform in their operational status. Serious reform. And one of the things I want to tell you, and especially talking to the people in North Leeward, you can't grow cannabis and you're not supposed to grow food going forward now with any chemicals in them, you know. Neither fertilizer, nor sprays. Those days gone. G-O-N-E gone. G-A-I-N gone, them gone. You can't go and poison the good earth now with those things. So, the farmer support company now has to know that they can't just bring any kind of stupid input and put it down on you. So, you're not going to make nothing. Apart from killing the life of the soil, you're killing yourself. And you're killing the economy of the region, of your region. So these are things that you have to be aware of. I tell you, these things sound good on paper. And a lot of people will say that they only come now because they're looking for some kind of little political advantage. But I have to start look way beyond those kind of things and see what good could come out of them if they are organized differently and if the people themselves have a say in the decision making. These are the things going forward. Because as far as I know, the North Leeward has a history of being the area with the most farmers organizations from the time I know it. From the 60s coming up, right? Unfortunately, a lot of them, most of them didn't last too long because the system was always anti that. But it's not that they shouldn't go at it again. Right now, they still have organizations who are struggling. And they're now seeing a light, particularly in the last couple of days, with the change in the international politics, where they could make a good headway. We're going to get into that just now. Because the things that were blocking the development of the agricultural sector in the entire world, including this region, they're getting dismantled right now as we speak. Totally dismantled. So that was one, giving out papers to farmers. The aspect of it now is that going forward, because you can't force everything on everybody one time, they wouldn't be able to, some people only have an appetite for that. So you can't force too much food down the throat. Giving out our own land to our own indigenous people, their own land. But they don't know. But in time to come, they would know that it's their land and they would claim the land in the right way. In the right way. And work it in the right way. Because the land does not belong to any Kong. You have heard I say that many times in this program. This notion of Kong lands go on a long time. Long time. Okay? So we have to make sure that the lands are used for the benefit of our people in the best way possible. Going forward. The next thing, which again is an excellent idea, is seeing that there is a program now in place to support small home gardens. Can't remember if the number is 700 or 7,000. I think it could be the bigger number of people would benefit from this program. People who plant in a little, small home gardens. I don't want to call them backyard because I don't like that term. Home garden, small home garden will be getting support from the agriculture minister, according to the Minister of Agriculture. And this would also be part of the same food security business, but this has to be organized. So the 20 odd recipients of the program we just gave, you are ahead. And I don't know if it's that program that stirred this other program, but that would be a good thing. You are ahead. It shows how important you are. And to our indigenous people out there who supported the program, it shows that how forward looking and forward thinking you are. Again, big up. So those are good initiatives, but it's to manifest them in the right way. That's the thing. Because it's word, song, and power. So if you just have the word alone, and you don't put the word, as it says in the written book, the word, what are the word, and the word was made flesh. So if the word in this time not making any material thing, it's a waste of time. Any waste of time. So that is how we have to take it. So when the word is uttered, it becomes the policy. And I now have to take it and run with it and don't sit down and wait and say, well, government say they go do something. Because you wait there, you come like the woman who wait in the laboratory bundle of clothes for Jesus to come and help she, and when time she go up the rain come down, the river come and go wash her out your clothes. Help yourself, and then you get help. That is how it goes, collectively. Right, so what does all this have to do now? What does all this have to do now with the new time? The election, the re-election of President Trump, who has become the 47th, he was 45, and now he has come the 47th President of the United States. Okay? And for the few people who know anything about numerology, you know what it is. Right? And the number you get, the final number, which is a 2. 2 always means money, prosperity, wealth. So, first of all, let I say that a lot of people, especially Caribbean people, especially Vinci people who live in New York, who live in America in particular, not just New York, they never saw this coming, because every time you look at what they're saying on the line or somewhere, it's always for the Democratic candidate and always trying to vilify Trump. I'm not saying that Trump is a savior or angel in any way. What I'm saying that when the judgment drop and whoever is chosen to do that, and I can't change it, it's chosen by higher powers. And that is the judgment that these countries have to face for things to get better. So Trump has, in this case, has been chosen to do something which he himself cannot resist. And he was chosen to be the winner of the election. And few people saw that long time. Never mind the hype you heard in media, the controlled media been saying for the last 3-4 months, and vilifying and anything, because all people swallow these things and they don't look deeper than a quarter of an inch. Sometimes not even as far as that. Maybe a couple millimeters. So they never really see the light and see the truth. And all they do is get emotional, and allow their emotion to take over what's supposed to be the mind. Matter take over the mind when they're supposed to have mind over matter. And they say these things, not realizing that the judgment has already been set, which has a greater, deeper meaning. So with the re-election of Trump, the globalists and their agenda have been defeated. The darkness has been defeated because they had a lot of evil things with the one world order. People had a lot of things planning. And now they're desperate, real desperate. They wanted to control all the finance, they wanted to control all the people, they wanted to bring in a certain digital ID. Some people say it was the mark of the beast. They wanted to create a global famine next year. Yes, one of the things just released by one of the gentlemen who they had in prison for a long time, Julian Assange, has come out clearly and exposed the plan they had. Leak it, he says, UN footage has exposed a terrifying decades-old plot with one goal: to manufacture a famine by 2025, leaving billions hungry, desperate, and ready to be controlled. This plan reveals toxic clouds, chemical warfare in our skies, and engineered environmental destruction. A horrifying future the elites have orchestrated while we look the other way. That is what they go at. Distractions. And while you get distracted, it's thing, right? You see, this is the conspiracy theory. The UN itself caught on camera unveiling their chilling endgame to cripple humanity by 2025 through invisible tactics designed to leave us weak and vulnerable. I'm starting to think, well, did the 25 by 25 agenda have anything to do with this as a cover? Just a food for thought. Okay? The footage reveals top officials detailing a strategy to dismantle human resilience and control populations on a scale never seen before. The deception of chemtrails, those white streaks in the sky. You know, sometimes you look up in the sky, some white streaks, and you think it's a jet just passed. No, those are chemtrails. They're not harmless vapor. According to the footage, they are bioweapons. That's why a lot of people get sick. Non-communicable diseases and all these things. Invisible assaults on our health and freedom, engineered to weaken, confuse, and slowly poison us. These chemicals infiltrate our bodies without us knowing, impairing our minds, health, and even disrupting entire communities. Every streak in the sky is a silent attack on our strength, a weapon in a war we never knew was being waged. Environmental apocalypse, the footage exposes deliberate contamination of our ecosystems, weather manipulation, soil degradation, and toxic infiltration of water sources. This isn't accidental. It's a calculated destruction meant to suffocate life on Earth. Crops fail, water is tainted, and biodiversity crumbles under a chemical assault crafted to destroy us. This is an engineered apocalypse, a strategy to control resources and lives. Man-made clouds of death, the leaked footage reveals. These clouds aren't natural. They're engineered agents of death designed to starve us. The UN plans to use these artificial clouds to disrupt global weather systems, causing droughts and destroying crops. This isn't a natural disaster. It's a calculated attack to collapse the food supply and leave populations desperate. The goal is to turn our air into a noose around humanity's neck as we approach 2025. They're using famine as a weapon. Starvation is the oldest weapon and the footage reveals the UN's plan to use it on a global scale, breaking humanity's spirit to force compliance. Hungry people are desperate people, willing to sacrifice freedoms for survival. This famine isn't just about food. It's a strategy to dismantle human autonomy and control who eats and who starves. How we fight back? How do we fight back? This footage has given us the enemy's playbook. So you see where they're coming from. Just like I was saying, it's important that more people went to the Cannabis Plus, the lectures. Because you don't know how the inside comprise. You can't really plan a strategy to combat it. Awareness is our weapon, but it's not enough. Start with local food systems and community-supported agriculture to take food security into our own hands. Breaking the chains of dependency they hope to forge. Now, I'll come forward to that in a while. Build community strength. Work towards food sovereignty. And detoxify your environment. Strengthen local networks and demand transparency. Now you hear what they're saying here? You hear what they're doing, right? How do we fight back? Start with local food systems and community-supported agriculture to take food security into our own hands. Breaking the chains of dependency they hope to forge. Now our little thing we start there. At the time when we started it, I were not even aware of this plan in the detail, but I had the vibrations that if we don't do something now, it would be terrible in a few months' time, a few years' time, real terrible. Okay? So again, big up to all, especially all indigenous people overseas who had the vibrations to get these funds over to INA. So INA could start something. Because we're building from the ashes up, like a phoenix rising. Now, I am hoping, because you see, when people throw you a lemon, you have to take it and make lemonade. Even though you're using too much sugar in it, you still have to make lemonade so make a drink, okay? Now, the Minister of Agriculture, the last thing he said, that was today, is that they have now this program to help 7,000 households, garden, small pots. I wonder if this is a part of the answer, reaction to combat this thing. I wonder if that is it, I will say that's good. If it's not, then I say it should be. And we have to make it a reality. Okay? Because this is one of the strategies how we fight back. We started local food systems and community-supported agriculture. Now that part, the community-supported agriculture is where the people come in. Because without the people in the community supporting the effort, nothing would happen. So we have to start to have more community reasonings among yourself and among other people to come in and start reasoning with you. And showing the people exactly what time it is and why it's necessary for collective participation in the communities. Because only that could get rid of the major problems in agriculture, especially two major social problems we have in this country. One, predial larceny, and two, lack of good agricultural workers, a workforce. That's the only way we could get, seriously, the most effective way we could get rid of those two social problems. Once we have the call on those, not impossible at all, quite possible. everything else will fall into place in quick time. In quick time. Okay, so we have to strengthen local networks and demand transparency so no hanky-panky could go on. We have to build community strength and work towards food sovereignty. Food sovereignty. That is what we have to work for. So we own the food. We have sovereign, we own the raw material most time. Why this country was so resilient in the past is that we didn't have to import tanya, edo, sweet potato, yam, dasheen, those things that we plant on the ground. Because we could vegetatively propagate them from the heads, the part before. We harvest, those the part to harvest, and we do our mini set technique, which is something that Cardi had introduced here before all this fancy term coming out about cloning and tissue culture and mash up our agriculture. That is what we used to do. Mini set technique, which is a much better agronomic and biological feature to do than any kind of tissue culture. Tell them Bish I say that. And they don't bring any proof to prove it otherwise. Because all they be doing in the tissue culture is spreading pure disease and pests. They use it as a weapon to wipe out most of our crops. And now I hear them talking about tissue culture in cannabis. Well, I tell you, early, you don't have to go in a workshop for that. I'm not in that foolishness, you know. No, because from a spiritual perspective, a lot of things in the cannabis that they're introducing now, I'm not in that. And you're going to hear about it more in the workshops. You know? Because from creation to now, the only product you had is male and female together. Anytime you start doing anything else, you're going on a different vibration, completely. So if male and female don't come together and you have the balance there, the product is not spiritually sound. Basic law. That's not a legal thing. That's not legal. That's law of life. That is why the creators created I in their own image and likeness, male and female. So one of the things that the globalists get licked out with, one that part of the agenda because Trump is re-elected, is the whole LGBT agenda they had to force, which they started to force on us and our children in the schools. Yes, they've been forcing it, they're still forcing it now. But right now, they have no strength to force it again because this new earth that we're living in, this new system that we're living in, that started on the 5th last Tuesday, now cleaning up the whole mess. Yes, it's cleaning up the whole mess. And while we're speaking here, you know how many hundreds of thousands of the evil ones since this program started globally don't get arrested? And some of them even get executed? Judgment time. You won't hear that on the CNN and the radio and this thing. You won't hear that. But you have other sources of information where the truth will come out and you'll hear it. So who have ears to hear will hear and who have eyes to see will see. And now people have to stop getting shallow and start clamoring things because the emotions taking over the body. And always drawing bad card. Some of them so shame now because they hang everything out there talking about camera now that they can't even, they have to eat the words and the words choking them. They can't even catch yourself. They're stunned. They want to know, well, how come that happened? Because you have made the wrong analysis all the time. And you were way off. Because you're not grounded in the truth. All you're feeling is fantasy. Fantasy. So here we are in this new time, and we have to make the most of it. And in this new time, making the most of it, you know it had to be collective. No one hand could clap going forward in this time. And as the Imperial Majesty says, all these organizations of the United Nations, all of them have to be reviewed. They have to be revamped. They have to be reorganized, both in terms of personnel and in terms of the narrative and in terms of the modus operandi. Complete reset. The structure of the United Nations, it is useful. It is useful. It started as a League of Nations with useful purposes, but it has been hijacked by the darkness, these powers, these globalists, with their own agenda, who control most of the governments in the world, most of the politicians. But now that their stride, the matrix has been broken. Because it's good over evil every time in this Armageddon, and a good over evil. Never mind how long they've been there. It's good over evil. The good now has to come to the surface. And this is the time for the good to come. So, you have to decide whether you want to live if you want to live, or you go with the globalists and fall. Or Babylon fall. You understand? That is how it's going. So if you really want to be in it, that is where you have to start. And when you start right in your own community. Things which look impossible just 3, 4, 5 months ago will look very possible right now. Very, very possible. The LGBT agenda get licked up. The famine agenda, global famine agenda get licked up. The financial money agenda get licked up because now is a different financial system that is taking over soon, already in place, already on the being looting the sea products from our Atlantic fishing zone, which we have not made any use of. Made any use of over a generation. We have been allotted that space and we have not made any use of. It's right there. Now you hear them talking about the blue economy. Well, they're going to see the blues and we will control our economy. That is how it has to go. So all these United Nations organizations have to be revamped. And the language, the narratives have to change. No more value chain. We're not in the chains, and we're not their value in chains. We are creating our own narratives. No more target. The military language has to go. Those are spell language. And no more climate smart agriculture. Because we know you're climate smart, but we clever. We have to be clever farmers. Clever farmers in this agriculture, not climate smart. All those terminology there to turn bamboozle our people, that they have to go. We're not in that foolishness at all anymore. So right now, I'm telling you, it's the best of times for NI. The best of times. And I want people to wake up and see the light. Yeah, wake up and do some stepping into the light, man. Stepping into the form of dance. Praise the Almighty in the light. We're staying in the darkness and wasting time for. What are you staying in the darkness and wasting time for? Honorable Minister of Agriculture, I'm asking you, I don't know how many of those households that you mentioned there. If it's 7,000, that's a good number. How many come from my area here? Kittles, Chauncey, Camden Park, Lomans Hill, all that's my area. Okay? But I would like to know that you have chosen people from these areas and they will get the support, and that this thing is not left up to government agents to run, because your track record is there. The track record is there not from now, from a long time. From the time our banana marketing system was deliberately destroyed in the early 1990s. By 93, we are out of that, what we were supposed to have. And they decide, because they think that the land belongs to them under the Crown, that they could use it for what they want. So they shifted the region, main economic support, agriculture, to tourism. The countries that used to produce sugarcane, mainly the Rhode Islands, Trinidad and Barbados, they licked them out because they said they had same special preferential treatment market like the people in the Windward Islands and Jamaica who grow bananas. So one was called Sismin and one was called Stabex. And they created these two funds supposedly to tie the countries over to a certain time. And the way how they organize them is for these things to fail. So they change these islands over to purely tourism. But then, you see what happened in this country here. Millions of dollars came in under the guise of banana adjustment measures, meaning you're adjusting the economy, the agricultural sector, to handle the shortfall from bananas. And look where we are. We never handle the shortfall, now we handle bananas. You know? That is where we are. Because the people themselves are not directly involved. They marginalize the people, they divide the people, they weaken whatever groupings we had, and thought that they could do it from a top-down position. These things ain't gonna happen. Right now, because the head of but agriculture is now come the head of the cornerstone, the head of the corner, and all attention is now focused on that. It's time for the people now to take action in their own hands collectively and make sure that these things happen going forward. We're not going to give them any chance to escape. Not in this time. Not in this time. So remember that the rest of this week, right, the moon falls on Friday, you have Wednesday, Thursday to set up whatever seed. I hope that you are prepared to do that. More, you know, fruits in particular, fruit and plants, your sweet peppers, your whatever, your corn. Sister, yes, you can still go and plant your cucumbers. You can still go and plant your cucumbers. I am going to make sure that some service gets to you in terms of facility to help you get your land prepared. Because it was said by the minister in that meeting with farmers a couple months ago in Bookament at the schoolyard that farmers would have support. And he can't tell us that it's only for one project, you know. No, this is farmers generally. For several, depending on your farm size, for labor, financial support for labor to work, some people to work with you to do what you have up to a certain number of days to get you started. I don't know if that program is already activated. I think so. I think it's happening in North Leeward in some areas. But you know how do they do these things? They have to get it on people first. But we need to get that out to you and make sure things happen. Because food, agriculture and food now are the most important things on this new earth and in this new earth. Okay? So let us make sure that we stick together going forward. Thank you for being here in this program. Spread the word, spread the network. So if we get more people to listen next time, shout out any time from tonight going forward for any more clarifications for what you need. Let us keep in contact and let us make these things happen. For now, I am making my exodus out of this program until next Tuesday.